Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are broadcasting to you at a moment of absolute critical mass in the world of tennis, a moment that has left the sporting community not just buzzing, but genuinely shocked by the sheer velocity of events unfolding at Melbourne Park. If you thought you knew the trajectory of Philippine tennis history, if you thought you understood the limits of a 20-year-old rising star facing the crushing weight of national expectation, you need to pause everything right now. Because what we are witnessing at the 2026 Australian Open is not just a tournament. It is a crucible. It is a firestorm. And right at the center of it is Alexandra Eala. The headline you're seeing everywhere, the phrase on everyone's lips is, "Whole world shocked." And rightly so, but perhaps not for the reason the casual observer might think. Yes, we are here to talk about the heartbreaking roller coaster drama of the singles draw that concluded just hours ago. But more importantly, we are here to talk about the immediate jarring and frankly terrifying pivot that Alex Eala has to make right now. Today, this very second, we are talking about the women's doubles. We are talking about a collision course with a legend. Look at the matchup that has sent shockwaves through the draw. Alexandra Eala, fresh off one of the most emotional, draining matches of her young career, is stepping back onto the hard courts to face a name that strikes fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned veterans. She is facing the Japanese wall, the tactician supreme, the former world number 4 in doubles, Shuko Aoyama. Why is the world shocked? Because of the stakes. Because of the context. Just yesterday, on Monday, we saw scenes at Court 6 that will be etched in our memories forever. A sea of Philippine flags. A crowd so loud, so passionate, that it felt like Manila and Melbourne. We saw Alex Eala, the world number 49, take the court against the American fireball, Alicia Parks. We saw a first set that was nothing short of perfection, a 6-0 shutout that had the entire tennis world believing the history books were already written. It was a bagel that screamed dominance. It was a statement. But then the twist, the shock, the collapse and the resurgence of Parks. The heartbreaking loss in 3 sets, 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. The agony of seeing a dream deferred. The shock of an early exit for a player many pegged as a dark horse for a deep run. The images of Eala leaving the court, acknowledging a devastated but proud crowd, were poignant. It was the kind of loss that can break a player's spirit. It was a kind of physical and emotional expenditure, lasting nearly 2 hours against one of the fastest servers in women's tennis, that usually demands days of recovery. But, and this is the shock that matters today, there is no recovery time. There is no mourning period. The world is shocked because Alex Eala is not retreating. She is reloading. Less than 24 hours after that grueling defeat, she is scheduled to face Shuko Aoyama and Magda Linette. This is not just a match. It is a test of character that borders on the superhuman. Think about who she is facing. Shuko Aoyama. To the uninitiated, the name might just be another opponent. To those who know tennis, Aoyama is royalty, a former world number 4, a player with over 20 WTA doubles titles to her name, a Wimbledon semifinalist, an Australian Open finalist just a few years ago. She is 38 years old, possessing a level of experience, guile, and courtcraft that takes decades to master. She is a master of the net, a player who dissects opponents with surgical precision. She is the antithesis of the power game. She is the silent assassin. And Alex Eala, our 20-year-old sensation, has to wipe the slate clean. She has to forget the 12 aces Alicia Parks rained down on her yesterday. She has to forget the missed opportunities in the second set. She has to partner with Brazil's Ingrid Martins, a formidable player in her own right, ranked 80th in doubles, and find instant chemistry against a polished, veteran machine. The shock is the matchup itself. It is youth versus experience dialed up to 11. It is power versus precision. It is the story of a young girl who just had her heart broken on the singles court, now having to stand tall and fight for redemption against one of the best doubles specialists the Asian continent has ever produced. The world is watching to see if Eala crumbles or she conquers. Can she channel the frustration of the Parks loss into a doubles masterclass? Can she find redemption in the team format? We're going to dive deep, and I mean incredibly deep, into what this match means. We are going to analyze exactly what went wrong against Alicia Parks, because you cannot understand the pressure of today's doubles match without understanding the trauma of yesterday's singles loss. We will break down the statistics, the mental state, and the tactical adjustments Eala must make. We will look at Shuko Aoyama's career. Why is she called the queen of the volley in some circles? How did she reach world number 4? What makes her partnership with Poland's Magda Linette so dangerous? Linette, remember, is also a top 50 singles player. So Eala is effectively facing 2 top-tier veterans at once. This is a comprehensive breakdown of a critical 48 hours in Philippine sports history. From the ecstasy of the first set against Parks to the agony of the final error, and now, to the rising tension of the Aoyama clash. This is the story of resilience. This is the story of the Australian Open. And this is the deep dive you need to understand why the whole world is holding its breath. So, settle in. We have a lot of ground to cover. We are going to dissect the serves, the returns, the mental warfare, and the historic implications. This is not just a game. This is the moment Alexandra Eala proves she belongs, not just as a prospect, but as a professional who can take a punch and keep moving forward. Let's get into the analysis. To truly understand the magnitude of the challenge Alexandra Eala faces today against Shuko Aoyama and Magda Linette, we must first perform a forensic audit of the immediate past. We need to go back to yesterday. Monday, January 19th, 2026. Court 6 at Melbourne Park. The context is vital. This was the first time the Philippines was represented in the women's main draw singles in the modern era of the Australian Open. The hype was not manufactured. It was organic, and it was deafening. Reports from the ground described an atmosphere that was electric. The Filipino-Australian community turned Court 6 into a fortress. Flags, chants, cheering for every point. It was a home game for Eala. The match began against Alicia Parks, the American known for having one of the fastest serves in the history of the women's game. Parks is a volatile player, capable of brilliance, but also capable of spraying errors. And in that first set, we saw the shock that we all wanted. Alex Eala came out of the gates like a woman possessed. Let's look at the numbers of that first set. It was a 6-0 shutout. A bagel. In professional tennis, especially at a Grand Slam, winning a set 6-0 is incredibly rare against a player of Parks' caliber. Eala was reading the Parks serve, which can clock over 120 miles per hour, perfectly. She was neutralizing the power, using her lefty forehand to create angles that frustrated the American. Parks looked lost. She looked rattled by the crowd and by Eala's consistency. Eala didn't just win the set. She dismantled her opponent. It took only 34 minutes. The unforced errors from Parks were piling up, and Eala was the picture of composure. At that moment, the world wasn't just shocked. They were ready to crown Eala as the breakout star of the tournament. But tennis is a game of adjustments, and this is where the story turns, and where the setup for today's doubles match becomes so dramatic. Alicia Parks went a bathroom break, reset her mind, and came out a different player. She stopped trying to out-rally Eala and started trusting her biggest weapon, the serve. In the second and third sets, the dynamic shifted violently. Parks began raining down aces, 12 in total by the end of the match. But it wasn't just the aces. It was the psychological toll of not being able to touch the ball on the return. Eala, who had been so aggressive in the first set, suddenly found herself on the back foot. The crowd tried to rally her. The umpire even had to hush them at times. But Parks used that hostility as fuel. She later said, "I don't know what my record is with crowds against me. It definitely put a fire on me." The scoreline flipped, 6-3 in the second. Then, in the decider, Parks broke early. Eala fought back, saving match points, showing that trademark grit we love, but the power was too much. 6-2 in the third. Game, set, match, Parks. The aftermath was heartbreaking. Eala spoke to press afterwards, and you could hear maturity in her voice, but also the pain. She said, "It was so heartwarming." That's one of the things that makes a loss like today a little bit harder, is I know a lot of people were rooting for me. She talked about compartmentalizing. And that word, compartmentalizing, is the key to our entire discussion today. Because now we pivot. The tears have to dry. The muscles have to recover. The mind has to clear. Because waiting on the other side of the net today is a challenge that is stylistically the complete opposite of Alicia Parks, but perhaps even more dangerous. We are talking about the women's doubles round of 64. Alexandra Eala and her partner, Ingrid Martins of Brazil. Let's talk about the partnership first. Ingrid Martins is a specialist, ranked number 80 in the world in doubles. She is 29 years old, nearly a decade older than Eala. This is a good pairing on paper. You have the youthful lefty aggression of Eala from the baseline, and you have the experienced, steady hands of Martins. Martins has won WTA titles. She knows the geometry of the doubles court. She reached the third round of Wimbledon. She is not a rookie. This isn't two singles players just having fun. This is a legitimate team. But then we look at the opponents. And this is where the shock factor of the title comes into play. The draw has not been kind. They have drawn the team of Shuko Aoyama, Japan, and Magda Linette, Poland. Let's focus on the headline villain of this narrative, Shuko Aoyama. If you are a casual fan, you might not know her stats. Let me enlighten you. Shuko Aoyama is a phenomenon of consistency. She stands only 5 feet 1 inch tall. In a world of 6-foot power hitters like Alicia Parks, Aoyama should not exist. And yet, she dominates. Why? Because she is a genius at the net. Aoyama has been ranked as high as world number 4. That is elite. That is a 99.9 th percentile sport. She has reached the finals of the Australian Open before. She knows exactly how the ball flies on these courts, how the wind swirls in Melbourne Park. She has 20 WTA doubles titles. 20. To put that in perspective, most players dream of winning one. Aoyama has a trophy cabinet full of them. Her style is what will shock Eala if she isn't ready. Alicia Parks beat Eala with brute force, 129 miles per hour serves, crushing forehands. Aoyama will try to beat Eala with geometry. Aoyama poaches. She intercepts. She moves across the net like a ghost. She uses the pace of the opponent against them. If Eala tries to blast a forehand cross-court, Aoyama will be there to stick a volley into the open court before Eala can even recover. And let's not forget Magda Linette. Linette is a formidable singles player, currently ranked in the top 50 for singles. This means Eala is facing a double-threat team. You have Aoyama, the specialist tactician, and Linette, the solid baseliner who can hang with anyone in a rally. Linette reached the semifinals of the Australian Open in singles just a few years ago. She loves these courts. So, here's a scenario. Alex Eala is walking onto the court less than 24 hours after a devastating physical and emotional loss. She is facing a team that combines the highest level of doubles IQ, Aoyama, with top-tier singles durability, Linette. Why is the world shocked? Because usually, a young player who loses a heartbreaker in singles fades away in the doubles. They check out. They want to go home. The shock. Here is a potential for Eala to flip the script. If Eala and Martins win this match, it will be a massive upset. The betting odds favor Aoyama and Linette heavily. The experience gap is a chasm. But here is the path to victory, and here is why you should not count Eala out. First, the lefty advantage. Eala is left-handed. In doubles, a lefty-righty combination, Eala and Martins, is a nightmare to play against. It means both players can cover the middle of the court with their forehands. It disturbs the serving patterns of the opponents. Shuko Aoyama, despite her experience, can struggle against heavy topspin directed at her body. If Eala can use her lefty forehand to jam Aoyama at the net, to keep the ball away from Aoyama's strike zone, they have a chance. Second, the nothing-to-lose mentality. The pressure was on Eala yesterday against Parks. She was a favorite in the eyes of the Filipino crowd. She was expected to win. Today, she is the underdog. No one expects a 20-year-old coming off a loss to beat a former world number 4. That freedom can be dangerous. If Eala comes out swinging, loose and aggressive, she can catch the veterans off guard. Third, Ingrid Martins. We cannot overlook the Brazilian. She has played Aoyama before. She knows the book on her. If Martins can take charge of the strategy, directing Eala on where to serve and when to move, they can neutralize Aoyama's net presence. Let's go deeper into the technical matchup. The key battleground will be the ad court, the left side. This is where Eala will be returning serve. Aoyama serves with precision, not power. She will try to slide serves out wide to stretch Eala. Eala needs to step in. She cannot stand back. Yesterday, against Parks, Eala got pushed back by the power. Today, she must step forward against a finesse. If Eala allows Aoyama to dictate the net, the match is over. Eala must drive the ball through the middle, taking time away from the Japanese legend. Furthermore, we need to talk about endurance. The Australian summer is brutal. Even though it's 2026 and they have heat protocols, the court temperature can soar. Aoyama is 38. Lynette is in her 30s. Eala is 20. Martins is 29. Physically, the younger team has the edge. If they can make this a physical battle, if they can extend the rallies, if they can make Aoyama work for every overhead, the old guard might crack. This match is also a redemption arc for the Philippines. After the singles exit, the mood was somber. The social media feeds were full of Sayong, what a pity, and boy, next time, bounce back next time. But a win here? A win against a seed-level talent like Aoyama? It would reignite the frenzy. It would keep the Philippine flag flying at Melbourne Park into the second week. I want to highlight a quote from Eala after her loss yesterday. She said, "I just hope that the support continues with the losses along with the wins." This is her testing that statement. The true fans are tuning in today. The true fans know that doubles is not a consolation prize. It is a discipline of war. And beating a former world number 4 is a scalp that every player wants on their resume. Let's imagine the scene on the court right now. Eala and Martins discussing signals, hand behind the mouth, planning the serve placement. Aoyama on the other side, calm, stoic, visor pulled low. Lynette bouncing on the baseline. The umpire calls time. The first few games will be critical. If Eala holds serve easily, her confidence will return. If she gets broken early, remembering the third set against Parks, doubts might creep in. Martins needs to be the captain here. She needs to be the vocal leader, keeping Eala's energy high, reminding her that yesterday is gone. There's also a hidden narrative here. The ranking points. Eala is hovering around the top 50 in singles, but her doubles ranking needs work. A deep run here helps her overall profile. It helps her net game, which feeds back into her singles. Playing against Aoyama is a masterclass lesson for free. Eala will learn more about volleying in 90 minutes against Aoyama than she would in a month of practice. The world is shocked because the transition is so abrupt, from the heartbreak of the Parks loss to the tactical chessboard of the Aoyama match. Most athletes cannot make that switch. They carry the hangover of the loss. If Eala steps onto that court with fire in her eyes, if she smiles, if she fist pumps, that in itself is a victory of mental fortitude. And what if they win? What if the shock is the result? If Eala and Martins knock out Aoyama and Lynette, it blows that section of the draw wide open. It would send a message that Eala is not just a singles prospect, but a complete tennis player. It would be front-page news in Manila and Tokyo. But let's be realistic about the difficulty. Aoyama doesn't make unforced errors. She doesn't give you free points. You have to take them. Eala has to hit winners. She has to be brave. She has to hit down the line when the cross court is the safe shot. She has to lob over Aoyama's head when the Japanese star crowds the net. It requires a level of tactical discipline that Eala struggled with in the third set yesterday. Can she find it today? That is the question that has the whole world watching. So where does this leave us? We are standing on the precipice of a defining moment. The 2026 Australian Open has already delivered its fair share drama for Filipino tennis fans. But the script is not finished. The final act of this opening chapter is being written right now on the doubles court. The loss to Alicia Parks was a bruise, certainly. It was a painful reminder of the brutal nature of Grand Slam tennis, where one bad hour can undo months of preparation. But in sports, as in life, you're not defined by how you fall. You are defined by how you rise. Alexandra Eala is rising today. She is standing across the net from a giant of the game, Shuko Aoyama, a woman who has been winning titles since before Eala picked up a racket. The odds are stacked against the Filipino-Brazilian pair. The experience gap is massive. The emotional fatigue is real, but this is why we watch. We watch for the shock. We watch for the upset. We watch for the moment where youth and hunger collide with experience and pedigree, and something magical happens. If you're a fan of Alexandra Eala, if you're a fan of Philippine sports, or if you're just a fan of compelling human drama, do not turn your eyes away from this match. The singles campaign may be over, but the war continues. The whole world was shocked by the exit, but they might be even more shocked by the redemption. This is a deep dive. This is the reality of the tour. No sleep, no excuses, just the next ball. I want to know what you think. Can Alexandra Eala shake off the ghost of yesterday's loss? Can she and Ingrid Martins unlock the puzzle that is Shuko Aoyama? Or will the veterans' experience be too much? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Do you believe in the upset? As always, keep your eyes on the ball and keep believing. The story continues.